How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be taking a look at the Arch-Glacor, which is the second boss of the Elder Godwars that has just been released. I think this is a really good boss for those people trying to learn how to get into PvM. I personally really enjoy this boss, so I'm going to cover things that I really enjoyed about the fight, the things that I really kind of think need fixing or disliked about it, and really just my overall experience with the 2 hours that I actually managed to do on the day of release. So if this is the kind of thing that you enjoy, then do like the video, dislike it if you dislike it, and if you are new, then please do subscribe. With that being said, let's get into the video. Alright, so going into this, I went in completely blind. I'd not watched anything on the fight at all. I just wanted to kind of experience it firsthand. And going through the portal at War's Retreat, I noticed in the top left hand corner there was the mechanics that you could apparently toggle on and off, which I found a little bit weird. It's something that I don't think I've ever seen them do in game before, so I wanted to see what it would be like without any of them, and then just toggle them on sort of one by one after that and see kind of how the fight changes. So when I first attempted it with absolutely none of the mechanics on, I genuinely thought that it was a bit of a joke. I kind of thought there's absolutely no way that that was the fight, which obviously isn't the case, you know, obviously there's all the mechanics to add to it, but yeah, it was just really weird. It was like a really quick DPS dummy, I suppose. Now, the flurry mechanic is something that I actually don't really know what it is. And that's really just down to the fact that I didn't really notice a difference between when it was active and when it wasn't. I noticed that there was some sort of ice or snow or something around my feet of my character, but I don't know what that actually does. So yeah, for me, I don't know, that one really didn't sort of change the fight at all. Now, the Pillars of Ice mechanic, that definitely changed up the fight a bit. But if we're going to be honest here, in normal mode, that really doesn't matter too much. You know, you can pretty much tank that. It doesn't do that much damage. However, when I started doing hard mode, this mechanic really hurts, especially later on. But yeah, Pillars of Ice was pretty much the first time that I noticed sort of a change in the fight. Next up was the Exposed Core mechanic, and this one was obviously noticeable as well. It was a whole new thing. And again, in normal mode, this really isn't too much of an issue. It's really not that bad. However, in hard mode it is a little bit of a DPS check, and it can really stack you out quite quickly if you don't deal with it. Next up we have the Frost Cannon mechanic, which I think honestly, if you were going to die to anything in normal mode, it would probably be this, even though it's kind of easy to deal with. Even in hard mode this is pretty easy to deal with, however sometimes I would mess this up quite a bit with my prayer switches and sort of devotion not being ready to kind of go off, especially when you get it sort of as a back-to-back mechanic. The fact that some of these mechanics can go back to back in hard mode is pretty rough, and one of the things that I don't like about the fight, which I'll go into a little bit later. But essentially, Mage Prayer and Devotion, and you've pretty much dealt with that mechanic every time. Now, the final mechanic is basically the minions being able to spawn, and once again, in normal mode, these are really not too much to deal with. But in hard mode, these actually take quite a little bit to kill. Now, I know that there is an absolute ton of stuff that I can do to improve killing these and all sorts of stuff, right? For anyone that has watched any of my PvM stuff knows that I really don't do many switches or anything, but I definitely think I should start bringing chins here, and I really need to start getting used to kind of using those as a switch, because I know that they're extremely powerful, and I know that they would deal with this mechanic so much quicker. So I'll be awaiting the comments that tell me what I'm doing wrong. I mean, I know nobody watches my PvM stuff because I'm good at it. At the end of the day, I get to have fun playing the game, and you guys get to have a laugh at a very below average player. So my first attempt going into hard mode, I super almost got the kill. I died right at the very end because I am an idiot. I ended up using Devotion ready for the Frost Cannon, and I forgot to switch my prayer back to Mage. Now, I wish I could say that this was the only time this happened through the night, but it really wasn't. Over the course of the 2 hours or so that I ended up playing, I died to quite a lot of stupid stuff like this. Now, with that first attempt, I actually didn't take a familiar of any kind, so the second time round I ended up taking a yak, and I don't really know why I chose that. I think I just kind of wanted that safety net of the extra food, but looking back I think it was a little bit stupid considering I'd pretty much just beaten the fight besides that stupid prayer switch, and I didn't even need the extra food. Now, I'm going to say it right now that I think this boss at low in rage on hard mode is an extremely good place for people to learn how to PvM. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the mechanics can be super punishing if you don't deal with them correctly. At low in rage they're not too bad, but I think they're definitely punishing enough that it makes you want to learn. Now, I don't know if it was just me getting more used to the fight or what, but this fight kind of forced me to learn how to use defensives a bit more efficiently. Especially things like the back-to-back frost cannon, where you would end up having a devotion on cooldown for the first one, and then kind of being forced to use different defensives for the second one. I also like that when you have to do the prayer switches, that's only in a specific part of the fight. That way you're not having to spend all your time worrying about prayer switches for the entire thing. Those two things alone made me feel like I got much better at PvM just in the short time that I actually did this fight. Now, don't get me wrong, I still died a hell of a lot. I know if it wasn't for free death week, I would have lost a hell of a lot of money really, especially from what I made from the boss as well. The loot from normal mode seems like it's pretty good consistent money. However, with hard mode, I think it's more like Telos where, you know, you're obviously looking for those big items, the higher in rage you get and the bigger the streak you get. You know, you don't do Telos for the sort of common rewards, right? So I did a bit of normal mode to upgrade the Pontifex ring, and like I said, the normal mode loot was actually pretty good. I don't think I did a price check or anything, but I got pretty good money from that, really. Now, while I was doing that to get the stuff to upgrade it, I ended up killing it as it did a frost cannon, and it completely messed up my skybox. Now, as cool as it looked for sort of the first sort of, 60 seconds of it, it made fighting the boss pretty difficult up until it used another frost cannon to sort of fix itself. I don't know, everything being super icy blue and oversaturated just kind of made it really difficult to see personally. But we ended up upgrading the ring, which I thought would do something better than just kind of getting tier 2 troves quicker. And after that we headed straight back into hard mode to see how far we could push it. So like I said before, the hard mode loot is kind of pretty lackluster, so unless it was something new, I would always just kind of streak it. So at 19% in rage, I ended up getting a PR of 3 minutes 48, but on the same kill I ended up getting some Glacor remnants, which at the time I had no idea what they were, so I decided to claim it. Now the very next kill was probably my best one of the entire night. This was using the aura, and I actually forgot to use the Book of Jazz that I had in my inventory. But it pretty much went as smoothly as I could have expected it to. I didn't use that much food compared to some of the other kills, and I ended up getting a very small increase on my PR of a 3 minute 44, and that actually ended up being the best PR of the entire night just because I didn't refresh my aura. And as you can see as well is I moved off a yak very early on. I wanted to make sure I was trying to learn this without having to rely on food, and that 5% extra damage is always welcome. Now, even though the kill times were getting longer just because I wasn't using aura and probably other reasons, things like not using chins and whatever, I actually started feeling pretty comfortable with the fight at this point. Obviously it's still pretty low in rage, so you know, I'm not going to be taking too much damage even if I make small mistakes here and there, but I actually ended up managing to go from a 41% in rage all the way up to 105. Now, it was only something like a 4 or 5 kill streak, and the loot was, like I said, pretty lackluster, so I just kind of wanted to keep seeing how far I could go. I really wanted to get past that 100%. Now, the 105% in rage kill was actually going pretty well, and I pretty much had it guaranteed. But right at the end, it ended up doing a back-to-back frozen core mechanic, and I actually ended up dying to this because of a dead click. I ended up clicking on the arm, and apparently it just didn't register, so I ended up attacking the main boss. And the damage in there stacks really quickly, and I didn't realise that. I remember thinking at the time I should really use Devotion here, but I didn't want to use it just in case it ended up using a Frost Cannon later on, which honestly, looking back, is kind of a stupid thing to think. I don't know, I should have just done it and then tried to get the kill. So I ended up dying, and I ended up claiming, I think it was about 400k or something. It was really not a lot. I mean, the main loot itself I think was only about 1.6 anyway, so it's kind of whatever. Now, this is where I really wanted to get over that 100%. So I ended up going in for another kill, and I ended up dying with it having 4k HP because I didn't have anything for the Frost Cannon. At this point I was getting pretty tired and pretty angry, and I just kind of really wanted to get that 100%. I ended up attempting another kill, and I did get it, but it was probably the messiest kill of the entire night. I had barely any food left, and it was just not a good time. However, this only brought me to 97% in rage, and again, I just needed to get past that 100. So we ended up attempting the 105% in rage, and I ended up dying. And I died probably in the most infuriating way when I look back at the footage. I ended up dying to those pillars of ice or whatever they're called, because apparently the boss's hitbox is like 10 miles wide. I was clicking on the bridge to sort of start running a certain way and then surge away from them, but apparently I was still attacking the boss and just surged straight into its face. Now, I wouldn't have cared if it was just the one surge that happened to, but it was literally both of my surges. So there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. It was just, you know, it is what it is. But at this point I kind of just had to log off. I was kind of done at this point. I was too tired and I was just getting too sort of ragey at the whole thing. So yeah, we ended up finishing only on 97% in rage, but you know, I got much further than I ever thought I would have on the day of release. Considering I've not even done hard mode Carapac yet, I didn't expect to be able to do hard mode of this, so yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the progress I've ended up making. But yeah, overall, I really enjoy this boss. I think it's really good for people that are wanting to learn how to PvM. I think Jagex have done a really good job of sort of balancing the whole thing. I do think they need to fix the hitbox. I mean, that thing is crazy big, apparently. And I don't know whether it should be like this or not, but I think that they need to kind of just not have back-to-back mechanics, because I think some of them are a little bit punishing if they are. But I don't know, maybe that's just me, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think on that one. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be it for today's video. So yeah, if you did enjoy it, then do like the video, dislike it if you dislike it, and if you are new, then please do subscribe. And as usual, I'll catch you in the next one.